Hi guys, and welcome to Making Finances Sexy. My name is Rose Short, aka the Red Queen. I'm a realtor here in the Phoenix Valley. I am also a financial consultant and CEO of Chronica Luxury. My mission is to help people live their dream lives and fire their boss. Come down the rabbit hole with me. My co-host is going to introduce herself now.
Hey, and welcome to Making Finances Sexy. My name is Jessica Lay, your Rent Rave Own realtor and certified instructor with the company 101 Financial right here in our Valley of the Sun, making it my mission to assist you in moving out of renting into homeownership, no matter your situation. I'm ready to be your personal finance coach and first-time home buyer specialist.
Heck yes. So the reason we call this Making Finances Sexy is because we have a joke in one of my financial consultation firms of no one wants to talk about insurance because insurance isn't sexy. But we, on the other hand, believe that knowing your finances, knowing your financial situation, and having all your ducks in a row is extremely sexy. So here we are. We got started in finances because we realized that there were a lot of pitfalls in what we are taught growing up, because you're not really taught finances or really financial independence or skill sets in school. The way that you really find out about finances is from your parents, if they know finances and can teach you as well. So we kind of took it upon ourselves to learn a lot more about finances, how to manage finances, credit, things like that. And it's our mission to start teaching everybody what we wish we knew decades ago. All right, so Jess, you're part of Financial 101. So tell our listeners how, I just hit the microphone. Jess with Financial 101, tell our listeners how you got into it and how it has helped you.
So I got into it living in Hawaii, and a mutual friend was an instructor for the company. And after visiting a workshop and learning about it, I signed up right away because there was nothing to lose and all to gain, because it's just financial education and a better way to think. Immediately, like within 2 years, I was paying off all my debt, about $30,000. And it just really opened up my life. I didn't have to worry about money as much. I could afford my own place to stay. I could eat. I could travel for music festivals, which is what me and my partner love to do. And moving forward, I just really wanted to pay it forward to others who think they struggle with their finances and can't seem to save money or ever pay down those credit cards or student loans.
Nice. And I know one of the things that you learned with Financial 101 was personal lines of credit.
Yes, we definitely leverage debt. People get scared of debt, but I love debt, especially when you can use it properly and use it to your advantage.
Yeah, and that's something that we're definitely not taught, especially growing up, is that there's good debt and bad debt. And, the people who are affluent and financially set use debt to their advantage, whereas a lot of us more middle-class folks tend to think of debt as something bad and something that you want to avoid. So that is kind of one of the myths that we want to break, is that, debt is not, like, yeah, it sucks being in debt, but there is good debt and bad debt. And a lot of the people who have a high net worth, it's because they have a lot of debt, but they know how to leverage it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like the fundamentals of finances that everyone should know before they get into things like buying insurance or buying a house. And
Yeah, it's crazy. And I started getting into because I also do life insurance, and then I help people save on their home and auto insurance. I help them save on home security systems, identity theft, and identity theft protection. And then of course, just generalized lawyers, people who can go over contracts with you, maybe you can get speeding tickets, stuff like that. And when I started learning all that, there was so much involved that had I known this, like I said, a decade ago, financially, I'd probably be a lot better set, because I would have been a lot smarter about what I was doing with my money when I was making really, really good money. Not making quite as good money now as I was a couple of years ago, but that's okay. I'm in a much better spot mentally.
yeah.
So I'm fine with not making a whole lot of money in the corporate world anymore, but I'm also making my own way. I've got 3 different LLCs, and there's a whole lot, you don't understand with LLCs too. Like, no one ever teaches you about LLCs. And there's so much protection with LLCs that you get. And there's just a lot of money saving ways that you can utilize your LLC that, again, a lot of people aren't taught.
Yeah, and see, that's sexy. Having time is sexy. Not worrying about how you're gonna pay rent next month is sexy. Um, Life insurance is sexy. A lot of people right now don't even have that, right? Like,
No, or they have the wrong type. That's just costing them money in the long run for what seems like a good gain, which is not. But we'll get into that in a whole different episode. But yeah, there's just a lot that, like, we're not told that we should look into as we're young, when we're young. And by the time we're thinking about it, it's kind of too late to look into a lot of these programs. And what really got, I know you and me tied together in this is real estate. We're both realtors. We're both interested in helping families find single family homes. You are directly targeting first time home buyers because you are a first time home buyer. And I bought my home a couple of years ago and I had no idea what the process was. If I hadn't have found a good realtor, I would have been completely lost. And that's kind of one of the things that made me become a realtor, was like, wow, this was super easy. And, my realtor took all the stress out of it. And I wanted to help people with that as well, especially here in Phoenix. We have a lot of investors and whatnot, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with investing. But I personally would rather see, a family just starting out get into a home over an investor who's going to, slap lipstick on a pig and rent it out for well over what it's worth.
absolutely. Yeah, we live in such like these uncertain times, and people, especially like millennials, they all feel that they're stuck renting for the rest of their lives because of how hard it is to get a mortgage or how hard it is to save up for that down payment. But that's why my main focus is our first time home buyers, because I'm there right now. I've been scared and don't know what to do, but having the support from your lender and your realtor really makes a difference, takes a lot of the stress away. And also there is a lot of different strategies that we can do to get get anybody to the position to be able to get approved for a mortgage and buy a house. If it's how to save or how to take advantage of any first-time home buyer grants and programs, and building your credit up. There are just so many ways to get to that end goal of owning your first home. We just got to take the time to learn and make it happen.
Yeah. And that's where it starts, but that's not even close to the finish line, right? Because you and I both know people who have 2-3 jobs right now, just trying to make it. And that's one of the things where we try to go above and beyond for our clients is, it goes beyond the home buying process. It's how can we help you get your time back? Chronicle Luxury's whole theme is time freedom. It's literally what it means. Or time is my luxury is actually literally what it means, but it's time freedom, right? It's, I have the luxury of time because I have different streams of income that allow me to go out and spend a lot of time with my dogs, which is really what I want to do in life.
Right.
Other than help people get homes.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of the building block for this is how do we teach people not only how to get into their home, but how to actually enjoy that home and enjoy their time and their family, and not just feel like, okay, well, now I bought a home, but now I need to grind away for 40 years to, afford this home and afford everything in today's economy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I personally don't want to, like, bless my parents. I love them to death, but they're still having to work. And as they get older, and me, I would love to retire like in my 40s, to be honest. Like, that's my end goal. But just showing up 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, that's just so much time for somebody else that I don't want to do anymore.
Yeah. Well, and we'll get into it a little bit later in the podcast, but we both know that Social Security is not going to be a thing when we retire. Like, it's already not a thing, right? There's just the baby boomers have all retired. They've taken a lot of it, which is fine. I mean, it was there for them. But the economy and the programs are not keeping up with what's really going on in the world. And so COVID especially kind of shined light on that. And that's why there's so many, corporate America places complaining that nobody wants to work, because COVID hit. All these people were told they were unnecessary or unessential. And so, they started YouTube channels, they started Shopify, they started Etsy, like they found ways to make money from home. And, a lot of us are affiliate marketing, which is one of the things that I do. And so for a lot of us, it's like, well, why would I go back? You told me I was not essential, and I made my own, I created my own theme. No, I'm not gonna go back to work for somebody else. For what? For a pizza party here and there as a thank you, for a 1% raise if I'm lucky. And, I have to ask permission to take time off. I have to ask permission. Like I have to, I can't just be sick one day. Like I'm punished basically for being sick, like all these other things. And we have a whole generation now of people who are going, no, this is dumb. And we are retired, they are retiring early. We are retiring early because we found a loophole. And, we've known for a while that the middle class as we know it has been dying, because the jobs of the middle class have been dying. And so to pretend otherwise is just naivety at its finest.
Right. And we still need our workers, like essential and the ones deemed non-essential. But also we just live in such a crazy time right now, like all sorts of things, COVID, all sorts of things that has never happened before. And people are trying to like figure it out. We're in this inflation, and this is actually making a big point that working a normal job is no longer enough anymore, unfortunately, for our generations and the ones that are to come. Like we need to start investing and like being smarter with our money and putting what we make from our regular jobs into things that can benefit us further in the future, like IRAs, retirement planning. And again, none of those things were taught to us. I just recently got my own Roth IRA and got really excited about it. But before, like years before, I was just spending my money, working really hard and just doing the things I want to do. And my bank account wasn't growing. And I definitely really believe in doing more with our money that can benefit us later in the future.
Yeah, we have a basic principle we like to teach people, which is pay yourself first, right? Because a lot of people don't budget, period. A lot of people don't know how to budget. They don't understand what a budget is even supposed to do. It's just not a theme. But even the ones that do don't necessarily budget paying themselves. And, that doesn't have to be a savings account. Like I don't have a savings account because I don't trust banks. And I don't like that banks have the ability to essentially charge you if your money dips lower than they think it should, which it's my savings account. It's my money. If an emergency comes up, it's mine to take. So, my savings account isn't in a traditional bank because I don't trust them. But there's other ways to use the principle of paying yourself first. And that could be a Roth IRA. That could be an annuity of sorts. That could be a traditional 401k, which I'm not super keen on, but if that's somebody's theme, that's their theme. Or, an investment account, a stock account, any different, loads of different ways that you can apply the principle of paying yourself first. But again, like not something we were ever taught, right? It was, hey, pay your bills. And then, if you're saving up for something cool, if you're not, well, go out and have fun. Like, I had the benefit of my dad was very good with money, very good with budgeting. I was the only high schooler I knew who balanced my checkbook on a regular basis. I was that nerd.
Yeah.
But a lot of people I knew, a lot of people I grew up around, their parents were bad with money. They were bad with money. And it's not even their fault. And that's the thing is, a lot of these people that fall into huge amounts of debt, there's always people who are like, oh, well, you don't wake up one day and you're in, $50,000 worth of debt. And it's like, well, you kind of do though, because it quickly snowballs, especially when you get into like interest on credit cards, which is super crazy. And also, variable. So inflation has definitely hurt credit card interest, or as far as driven them up and hurt the consumer. And so it's really, really easy if you're not taught any kind of self-constraint to get into those situations. And because we live in such an instant gratification type world, a lot of people just don't have that constraint. And they don't have that constraint because they don't have the knowledge of why. So one of the themes, we're going to talk about limitless here in a second. We've got quite a few episodes actually planned on limitless. But one of the things that stuck out to me was when they were talking to the real estate investor, and the guy that was interviewing her was asking her, well, do these people not have the time to learn the underwriting, or are they just lazy? And you could tell that she was like, no, like they literally don't have the time. And so his candid attitude toward it kind of irritated me, but I liked her response because, you know, for some people, yeah, it takes a lot of time. It takes energy. It takes mental energy. And if you're already working 3 jobs, yeah, it's going to be hard. But if you prioritize it, then it makes sense and you can learn it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people grind all day because that's what we need to do to survive. And but even if we can help to motivate somebody to even take like, 30 minutes a day to just learn something new that can really benefit them, then they should take it. Another big thing is the media and these banks, they're constantly reaching out to us and everybody, like, you can get approved for this credit card, $30,000 here. And people are like, oh, heck yeah, because now I can go buy that boat I always wanted, or take the family to Disneyland. And then all of a sudden, yeah, it's great in the moment and you get to do all those things. But then when you get that bill, you're like, oh, shoot, how do I pay this? And then it just starts piling up and piling up. And that's how I see people getting stuck forever, just trying to pay things off. And if we don't break this cycle of just letting the debt pile up and not learning how to get rid of it, then it just gets passed on to the generations to come, and it's just never gonna end.
Yeah, it's the good debt, bad debt conversation again. So let's get into Limitless a little bit before we end this introductory episode. So Limitless, you went to last year. I'd never heard of it. You got me to go this year. It was a lot of fun, but kind of talk us through, 1, what it is, and then 2, like, what were the differences between last year and this year?
So Limitless is a financial freedom expo. It is big for investors and financial educators, also entrepreneurship, and even a lot of veteran-based speakers.
Well, let's be honest, right? So I went into Limitless with a far more cynical attitude than you, because I just tend to be more cynical. And I was trying not to let my cynicism affect your, enjoyment of
excitement. Yeah, because I really like being around those types of people, because I think if you surround yourself with success, then you'll gain more success.
Yes. Yeah. Which, I mean, there were a lot of good speakers. There were some that were interesting.
Yeah, another podcast.
Yeah. But all in all, I'm really, really glad that you convinced me to go, because there were some great speakers. There were some great lessons learned. There was a lot of really good takeaways. There, as with anything, there's going to be the good and the bad. If you get that many people together, most of them are probably going to agree with each other, but there's always going to be the few that don't agree. So there's some speakers that we'll probably just completely skip over, because we don't want to do a whole podcast on our dislikes. So we're not obviously going to go over all the speakers that were there, but we were going to touch on a lot of the ones that we liked. So again, I had no basis for last year versus this year, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Like I said, a lot of good information.
Yeah, definitely. And I loved your cynicalness, because it made me rethink things, because I think you need to go into things like that with an open mind and listen to their sides, and also have your own thoughts on whatever they're talking about, because that seemed like a big problem for a lot of the speakers and people there, is they seem so one side minded, and I just don't think that's the way you should be. You should be open to all angles.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you and I have talked about a lot too. Is education itself is great. Like, obviously we're doing this to teach people financial education. But as with any education, any kind of thing that you're starting, like, do your research. I see it all the time in affiliate marketing where I'll just show you a statistic real fast. So the average affiliate marketer, and by average I mean about 75%, quit after 3 months. And the reason they quit after 3 months is because they've bought into a program that was not honest from the get-go of what was offered. They don't go into it with any kind of cynicism. It seems like they go into it expecting, like, the big one I see is the $7 program, which, in 3 months you'll make $50,000 a month. Any person who has any kind of common sense knows that's probably not true. But these people are good marketers, and so they get pulled into it. They believe the hype. And then they just don't do the research of the person behind the program. And I've seen that a lot too, where there was a program that came out that a friend of mine had access to, and he's like, hey, you should promote this. This is really cool. And I started looking into it, and I was like, this guy's been in the business for 2 years. His net worth isn't even $1 million. Not that net worth is all that matters, but I'm like, if you're going to tell me this guy knows how to make money, like, his net worth should be up, right? And obviously, if you're not using debt to your advantage, your net worth isn't going to grow as quickly as somebody who is using debt to their advantage. But a lot of the other programs that I did buy into and that I did like, the founder's net worth was like 30 million, 45 million. Like, it was up there. Again, not saying that that makes them better in any way per se, but it does show a nice track record.
Right.
And a lot of that just comes from people buying into the hype and not doing the research and not educating themselves. So yes, we're going to give you a bunch of information, but, like, don't just take our word for it. Look into it, research it. If you believe everything you hear, you believe nothing, because you can find anything to fit any argument on Google. That's just the way it is. You can Google, is the earth flat? And I'm sure you can find articles that will absolutely say it is. We know flat earthers exist, right? So education, but education with an open yet cynical mind.
Yes, no, I love that.
Down.
Yes, I love that, because I bought into the hype, like into the stock market and things like that, and of course that failed immediately. And that's one key takeaway from Limitless for me, is our friend Tactical Income.
Yeah.
They offer a program that I really want to get into eventually, and that, like, just learning about that and Limitless, my biggest key takeaway would be mentorship. Mentorship is very, very important. I have a problem with my patience too, so I'll, like, jump into things thinking like I can do it, I'll do it all myself and it'll be fine, and not want to spend the money on getting actual help and education tools, and learn very quickly that it is a recipe for disaster. But if you actually take the time and invest in somebody to actually, like, mentor you and guide you through whatever it is you're trying to learn, like paying off debt or building your credit, or in real estate as well. Like, that's why I joined our real estate team, Snowbird Nation, because I really need that mentorship and that guidance to be able to get further and not have as many crashes, because when you're able to lean on people that have done it and have had success, like the millions of dollars making marketers, you definitely do want to follow that example because you want to be there eventually. And the other big thing is it does take time. I've wanted to quit many times real estate and everything, but I know if I just keep at it and get 1% better every day, it's all going to be worth it again later, and I'll get to retire early.
Exactly. Yeah, and due diligence and research when it comes to mentors and coaches too. I spoke to a guy a couple months back, who had a coaching program. He was like, "Well, I charge $12,000 an hour," and I started laughing. I was like, "No, because here's the thing: either your program works or it doesn't, and if it does work, you don't need to charge that much." And the way I look at it, especially some of these affiliate marketing coaches, I'm like, cool, if it does work, then I'll pay you on the back end. Like, I'll pay you once I'm making money, right? Which none of them see it that way. Well, that's not true. There's a couple that do see it that way. But then I found a different mentor who doesn't charge anything and is significantly better and just full of way more information than some of the people that were trying to get me to pay them. And he and I actually had a conversation that was kind of funny, because at one point I was on a phone call with, a business coach type thing. And the guy started asking me like, "Oh, what's your mortgage payment? Well, what kind of credit cards do you have? Well, what's your limit on them?" And I was like, "What the hell the business is it of yours, dude? Like, who do you think you are?" And he was like, "Oh, well, my job is to help people see how they can pay for things." And I was like, "Okay, here's the thing. An entrepreneur mindset is not, I can't afford it. It's, how do I afford it?" But at the same time, you, Mr. High Closer, or, don't get to tell me how I can afford it. It's my business. I will tell you. And so I kind of got into it. But my mentor was like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "that's a high ticket closer. That's all he is. Like, he has no idea, doesn't care about your business, doesn't care about who you are, your goals, anything. He's there to sell you." And that's kind of the problem, is you have to weed through those people.
Yeah, definitely. You're not going to find your perfect mentor right away. You're going to have to test them out, see if you vibe. Even like as a one-on-one financial instructor, not everybody I get on a meeting with, we're not going to vibe right away. But the great thing is there are a ton of us coaches out there, and I can, once we have a conversation, if we don't vibe, I can definitely pass you to another coach that you may be more compatible with, and that's okay.
Yep. It's the same for our real estate team. Like, not everyone's going to vibe with my vibe. But that's why we have a whole team of people that, like, okay, you know what, you might vibe with this person. And that's exactly why with my financial consultations, the initial consultation is free, 100% free. Because if I can't save you money, or if you like get on a call with me and go, "Oh my God, this girl is psycho. She's got how many dogs? I'm not a dog person. It's never going to work out." That's fine.
Yep.
And that's the way it should be. And unfortunately, it's just not true for a lot of businesses, and which makes sense, right? Like, to stay in business, you have to make money, but you can make money without being salesy and without hurting people.
Exactly. We just have a lot of good information, and we have a lot of good guidance, and we just want to share it with whoever will listen.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to our introductory podcast. If you do like this episode, I hope you tune in next week. We're going to be talking about Joseph Wang's speech at Limitless about the Fed and what's going on with Fed. So if you're interested in mortgage rates or inflation in general, it's going to be a good one to listen to.
Thanks for watching Making Finances Sexy. Stay sexy, my friends.